how asylum is allocated and the set of rights that are granted to refugees and asylum seekers, paying particular attention to elements of the impact of these instruments on human rights and refugee protection standards and their compatibility with the United Nations Global Compact on Refugees. The report investigates specific instruments in asylum governance in 4 countries: Brazil, Canada, South Africa, and Turkey. The status determination applicable in these instruments often relabel people from asylum seekers and refugees to economic migrants, temporary protection beneficiaries, or even forced migrants. This has profound impact on their rights, and it kind of traps them in a permanent temporariness, which does not allow for durable solutions, access to long-term residence, and security of stay. Asylum research shows how some of these instruments, in fact, are characterized by highly sophisticated forms of contained mobility. They allow mobility for some categories of migrants and asylum seekers, but not for every person. And also, they lead to a permanent temporariness, meaning that they often allow people to stay for only time-bound conditions. And after that, there is huge uncertainty for people involved regarding security of residence. And last, many of them provide rights, a bundle of rights, including related to employment, but our research still shows the existence of hyper-precarity in the labor market, meaning that those rights do not level up to the right of decent work. Asylum recommends a cautious approach before labeling certain instruments of asylum governance as good practices or as best practices. Our analysis demonstrates how the instruments analyzed, in fact, present very serious questions regarding legal uncertainty, lack of integrity standard, arbitrariness in the procedures, who has access to those instruments, who can benefit from them or not, who is privileged and who is not, but also are they really additional to the right to asylum, to spontaneous arrivals and people being able to ask for asylum, and also importantly, these instruments, do they pass the buck or shift responsibility from the state to deliver asylum to private sector and citizens and civil society to do that job, which doesn't help in upholding a state's legal responsibility on refugee protection globally. The concept of vulnerability in asylum governance also is quite critical in our research. Our analysis shows that we need to be also cautious when using this note and when implementing it, because it often comes with a lot of stereotypings about gender and sexuality, giving preference to groups that meet specific considerations when it comes to reception conditions and procedures, such as women and children, but also leaving out other groups with equally legitimate needs, such as male adults, young adults, and LGBTQ+ communities. So we actually underline perhaps the need to consider the specific needs when it comes to asylum procedures and reception conditions, instead of using a notion that finds no expression in some of the countries we've investigated in the national languages, and that gives kind of sort of negative framing of people as being vulnerable when these people are not vulnerable per se, but rather are the policies that create this vulnerability, particularly when they are manifestations of a contained mobility approach.